Hello Patriots around the world, and welcome you to another episode of Fortnite Patriots. This episode is called Planes, Trains, and Automobiles, and I'm going to be getting into a couple of things, including the recent airplane that was stolen last weekend over in Washington. So some of you have been asking about this pendant right here, and I can see how you think that this does look like an upside down pyramid, but it is actually a shield with a Christian cross on it. So I just wanted to address that and let you know I am with you guys. That's why I watch my hands so carefully, because I didn't realize how many times your hands just accidentally sit in one of these weird hand gestures that the Illuminati makes. So I try to be cognitive of that, so I appreciate you pointing that out. I really do. As you guys know, I've been doing some designing of some t-shirts, and I just got a couple of my new ones in. So I don't sell these, unfortunately, but I will give you a PNG of the front and the back of all the shirts that I do if you are interested, no charge. And if you want me to make a shirt, we can work out a deal. Get in touch with me through my email down below in the description area, and we'll get a shirt made for you. It'll be like 20 bucks, I think, with shipping. I don't make any money off of it. I'll just basically do the work, because I've already got the graphics and stuff sitting in the shirt place. You may be able to get it cheaper, I don't know. But anyways, this one right here is my Texas version, which has the state of Texas and the Texas flag with the Q. And I wanted to do like a football jersey, since that's really big around here with the where we go on, we go all. And the Q is a mix of the actual two flags, the United States of America and the Texas flag. The next one I did because I am Scottish. I know the accent is completely gone, but this one right here is the Scottish version, which I have the Piper piping right behind the Q, and it's kind of a silhouetted. I'm sure you'll be able to see it. I'll try to get a picture of it if this doesn't look good on video. And on the front, I have a mix of the St. Andrew's Cross and the Scottish Royal Lion, and I really like this design. Some people prefer the Scottish Royal Lion. Personally, me, I prefer the St. Andrew's Cross because it doesn't represent the royal aspect of it, and we all know how bad and corrupt that is. So if you like these designs, get with me. If you like the ones that I've already done, all the stuff, like I said, is free. If you want me to do the shirts, it'll end up costing you $20. I'll just do the legwork. I'm not making any money off of it. Now, if you do want to contribute to me, I'm not accepting any money for what I'm doing, but I also have another business, and I make custom Bibles. If you are interested, if you have a Bible that's already made that you want to make sure lasts a little bit longer, I can take those measurements from you. I can also make them from scratch, and I generally charge $140 for these as far as my business goes. But if you get with me through this movement, through the Q movement, on any of my pages or whatever, I will do $100, and I will not charge you for shipping. So let me know. This one right here is my personal one. On the front, I've got Jesus and the cross and a couple of the triads, the Father, Son, the Holy Spirit. And on the back, I have the lamb and the lion. I love the spines. I do the initials, any design, any color, or anything like that. Let me know. I design these specific for you because I plan on these actually being in your hands forever, hopefully passing them down through generations. I don't like to just get money. I like to earn my money, and I don't want to earn it through this. So if you do want to contribute somehow, I will do these leather Bibles, and you'll actually get something out of it. So you'll be paying for my leather service as compared to the information you're getting here, and everybody's happy because I'm still making a living, and I get to do what I'm doing right here and not charging anybody for it. Fortunately, I own my own equipment, so at this point, as long as my cameras and my audio and everything's working, I am good to go. So that being said, let's get into it. To start off, I want to thank all of my followers, all of my people that I have become friends and family with almost around all the different social platforms that I'm on. I'm pretty new to all of it, so I apologize if I haven't quite figured it out and I'm not getting back to you. Literally, part of it's because I be in shadow banned that I don't get any alerts that you have said anything, and part of it is I am still trying to figure out even how to use Twitter. I literally just got on it for the purpose of putting these videos out. Next, I want to give a special shout out to Sarah Carter, who is doing so much and such a dangerous job getting this information out. And
she will go down in the history books as somebody who will be remembered very, very well. And I'm sure God is going to treat her well, because she doesn't have to do what she's doing. And she is one of the main people, her and Solomon and Greg Jarrett, that are going out there and getting us the truth that nobody else will bring us. So I want to give a special shout out to them. And like I said, they will go down in the history books and be remembered quite well. Next, the biggest story of the entire couple of years is right in front of us, and nobody is really talking about it. And that is the fact that we have a compound of Muslim extremists that have basically captive kids, brainwashing them and teaching them how to commit violent acts. On top of one that had died, they were malnourished. I mean, just everything about it. And they get a judge that gives them a $20,000 signature bond. A signature bond, people, means you don't have to have money up front. You just basically sign something and you own that money if you don't show up for court, I believe is how it works. But it's kind of ridiculous. These people deserve to be, I mean, $1 billion bail or no bail at all. But now these people are back out, and I am just furious about it. And there's pretty much media silence. I've seen a little bit about it, but this should be talked about more than anything. And I am so tired of hearing about Omarosa. I mean, it's obvious where their priorities are, and I guess that's the point of this, is that the real news is not going to be out there until they are forced to do it. And I mean, I believe that laws are going to have to be signed in order to make them at least not be able to speculate and lie like they have. Now, I'm glad Brennan got his security removed, because that is an equation that is removed from the persuasion of the media anyways. Now let's get to the plane. When we first saw the plane stolen in Washington this past weekend, most of us saw a manufactured event immediately. It's not uncommon for terror to be acted out using planes, trains, and automobiles. As the evidence came through, we had someone obviously skilled behind the throttle, even though they said he had no experience and had only learned from video games. Audio of a man unconvincingly trying to come across as crazy, never losing his breath while even fighting G-force. Like, everything about the situation just doesn't line up. Most of those that saw the truth assumed it was a message to Q and the Anons. Now, the reality just may show how brilliant of a plan this was, and it was actually a white hat operation. First, we have the public evidence and a crash site that didn't look like a plane crashed. 2 military F-15 jets, or Iron Eagles, were there within minutes of the takeoff of the compromised Q-400 plane, flown by a man named Rich. His nickname was Bios Russell.
Alaska Airlines Q-400, what the f*** is he doing over here?
Bebo, his family called him, describing Richard Russell as a warm and compassionate man.
The island where the plane supposedly crashed sits out of sight, where lifelong residents can't even see it. So it's not anything that people, they know it's there, but they don't see it. They can't see it. There's a military base just north of the island, which has a sub that's being decommissioned. It's called the Richard B. Russell. And its motto is, "We saved the best till last." Then we have the flight path of the stolen plane, which oddly comes out in the shape of a Q. So why do we think this is a white hat operation instead of a message from the deep state? Images of 2 missile silos were seen from overhead shots. I believe the stolen plane was designed to give us a reason for the sound of explosions and fire as our jets flew in and blew up Black Hat base and silos. Remember, the prior missile fire picked up on the weather camera. This was at that location. Chances are the plane was either a remote crash or it was landed in nearby Air Force Base, which are both at a public site. It made total sense to me when I saw this.
Okay, so here's where it gets really, really cool. The Anon that did this work is amazing. He did a lot of interesting stuff. He focused on a lot of different attributes and brought it all together. I'm not going to take credit for this, but it needs to be seen. And a lot of you don't go out to the Q boards, which is understandable. It's pretty vulgar for the most part, but it's where the information comes from. So I'm going to pass on what really stands out to me onto you. So this right here is another Anon that I can't give credit to, unfortunately. They're anonymous, so I can't do anything about that, but let's look at this.
We have these Q drops that kind of line up with each other. We have Google access kills. Now this lines up with the Google safeguard highest level access 3 Google, which lines up later with the 3 intel agencies. Q gained access to secret Google program in mid-June. Previously, only 3 agencies, foreign and domestic, had access to this. Now we have the packet HDQ with the numbers, and I didn't understand this at first, but it's making sense now because it comes down, and basically what it is Q baits agencies into hacking his trip codes. They think they are masked by the Google safeguard, but Q has access because we have the server, we're on with everything that's going on. Q sends a ping packet to identify their server location. Server location is geo-tracked to Qanon Island or nearby. Operation under cover of a stolen plane takes place to take out the black site. Now it draws down here to phishing, and unfortunately I think this has a couple of meanings. A, they were phishing for them, but it comes down here to another time that he put fish in the kill box. Do people travel to islands to fish? And I'm afraid that this may be referring to hunting people, like the ultimate big game. And I'm wondering, I mean, it wouldn't surprise me with all that's locking up into this. Like, there's things that I never imagined that are coming to fruition, and it's just mind-boggling. So then we have the GOT, and now we know what that means. It's geo-transmission, or geo-tracking. And that's what they were doing. They were basically conning them, finding their location, and the entire event was a mission of the White Hats to take down this operation that they had there. Now we come over here, and we have all of the different islands and how they line up. So this is really, really neat. We have Epstein Island, and we have Qanon Island, which just happened recently. Why is the temple on top of a mountain? Because the temple is simply a disguised elevator mechanism. How many levels might exist below? Many deeper levels grant deeper access. The deeper you go, the more evil it gets. Who were the puppet masters? Mossad. Have the puppet masters traveled to the island? Yes. How often and why? Very often, because this is a clandestine Mossad site, and it contains more than pedo rape dungeons. Why is Epstein spending $29 million to bury the tunnels under the temple of Epstein Island? Because the only thing worse than pedo rape dungeon is a missile launch site under the tennis courts whose purpose is to start a third world war. H. Many have interpreted this as a nod to the helipad. I think it's a nod to the H shape within the tennis court. Where do the roads lead? Rome. But in this case on the island, they all lead to the center of the island at the tennis courts. Each prince is associated with a cardinal direction. The 4 princes are actually 4 missiles. So basically aiming in 4 different directions in order to land at different areas and cause a war where people are thinking that it came from other countries. Like, that is insane. What is the mathematical probability that a rogue missile launched at or near the runaway plane? No coincidence. How many billionaires own islands? Well, many do. How many billionaires live on the islands? Not many, because the island isn't for them to live on, it's for Mossad to operate on. So this is where those black hat bases are. And this is where they're operating from, their missile launches and everything else like that. TLDR. Epstein Island, like Qanon Island, was a clandestine missile site for Mossad and their servants, the CIA. They're also black hat sites in general, and likely serve several nefarious purposes, including human trafficking and ritual sacrifice. Now this right here is a bunker in California that's at a silo, and as you can see, there's one right here on Epstein Island as well. So that's just showing you the comparison of the two. The location of the Q400 crash site near south end of the island at a 250-foot elevation. And this is basically the perfect thing, just like over here on Epstein Island, to have the caves which go underneath it. We already know from Epstein's Pedo Island about the use of the caves. Just happens to be the ideal spot on the island for underground chambers. Possible underground data center and tunnel system to Amazon. We have this little area right in between that island. Crash site is exactly north of some of the Cabal's friends. The water is the most shallow at this point for a hidden tunnel underneath the water. Unbelievable. DuPont, FedEx, Intel, and Amazon, all right there, literally getting everything they need back and forth and creating the complete secrecy of that island. And we went in there and we took out their access to that. So the island at this point, the silos and everything like that would be destroyed, and we have control of that situation at least. And I gotta give it to that Qanon for finding all this stuff. On Tuesday the 14th, a disaster happened in Italy as an anomalous storm appeared and destroyed a 30-year-old overpass, killing many people. A couple of days prior, the president of Italy said publicly to the European Union that Italy's people would come first, kind of following in the same footsteps of Donald Trump in America. I looked over at my mother at Sunday dinner and I said I felt like there was going to be some retribution for what he just said. And it looks like the events may have been implemented. Now, this is where you need to open your minds, because I thought weather manipulation was impossible until recently. Never forget your instinctual nature. Look back and ask yourself, are the things in the sky the same as they were when I was younger? 3 weeks ago in Texas, I saw this lightning that seemed perfectly timed. I mean, literally 5 minutes apart from one to the next. The bolts were brighter than usual. There was no rain, no thunder, and they went up into the air from the ground instead of falling from the ground, from the air to the ground. At its brightest point, you could see these little triangular things that were exactly where the bolts of electricity were heading. And you could see it just bright up, and they were just kind of silhouetted in the sky. Recently, I came across a patent that is about directed energy weapons, and at this point, anything is possible. The same weapon has been used around the world to start all of the fires, and most that people don't even know about, from Greece, Israel, the neutral countries, California, and more, as well as the earthquakes in Alaska and the hurricanes that are being steered towards Hawaii. Now, before you laugh and call me a conspiracy theorist, wait until next week. It's already been predicted, and all the models are pointing to the same thing. I know there's time for change, but I've never seen models agree more. It's an absolute shame that people need to die so that others can hide their evil. My heart and prayers go out to all of those suffering losses, those injured in all of these tragedies. Next, we have the many investigations around the world of our public Catholic priests and child sex crimes that are being swept under rugs until now. Besides the Pennsylvania Catholic group, we have investigations around the world, and Q says that many more are going to be coming out. And this goes a lot deeper than we know. And a lot of the information that Q dropped today I'm going to talk about coming up. I find this really scary, considering that we know how much already exists, and that is pretty horrible as is. So this stuff coming out that we don't know as we get further into this rabbit hole is going to be a lot to digest, I'd imagine. Now, I will be expanding on all of this in my next video. I'm going to be going into the cult, the other mysterious aspects, like what may be happening in Antarctica, because that seems to be something that a lot of people are interested in. So I found a lot of really interesting theories, and a lot of this ties into it. It's on the Q map, so I will be going over my theories on that, and I hope you join me for this. To end this episode, I want to show the reality of Antifa's actions and how they are, what they are accusing Q followers of being. The reality is Antifa is a group of paid mercenaries there to oppose and intimidate patriots. That is it. That's all they're here for.
White supremacy is just that prevalent in America, they tell us. It's everywhere. Except it's not. That's a lie. White supremacy is not ubiquitous in America. It's not a crisis. It's not even a meaningful category. It is incredibly rare. You could easily live your entire life in this country without meeting a single person who believes anything like that. Most of us have lived lives like that. I have. What is a crisis in America, and a growing crisis, is left-wing extremism and violence. Our elites abet and encourage it. Our media pretend it doesn't exist. Here, for example, was the scene yesterday in Washington. Antifa lunatics calling for the destruction of the United States of America. Watch. Benny Johnson of the Daily Caller took the time to interview some of the protesters. They freely confessed they would like to torture and kill the president.
What would you do if Donald Trump showed up at this rally? Murder him?
I mean, yo, he's America's Caesar, except he's a head. So, you gotta take him down.
Trump! If it came down to it and it was a group effort, we'd have to do him like Gaddafi.
If the president showed up at this march, what would you do, sir? Beat his
And as Q has said, they take hopeless and weak-minded people and they use them for these causes. And it's unfortunate because a lot of these people think they're serving the right side, and unfortunately they are just being manipulated. The media has tried to portray Q and the Anons in this light. They want us to come across looking like the violent ones, and they're doing everything to try to create the illusion of it. The truth is, this movement is about information. Yes, we are ready to defend our Constitution at all costs, but this movement is about achieving this without violence. If Q movement did not exist, I can assure you the Patriots would not be able to endure the violence of Antifa without retaliating themselves. It's the movement that keeps us focused and refrain from tarnishing its purpose in any way. When you have a gathering of motivated and intelligent people, information is 1,000 times more damaging than a punch to the face.
I want to thank everybody for joining us again for another episode of Fortnight Patriots. This week has been unbelievable. We're seeing so much come out, the John Brennan losing access to his security, all the other instances. I mean, it is a multiple boom week. We've got the priest in the United States, which is getting a little bit of focus. We've got the Chilean popes and priests and cardinals over there that they're looking into. I mean, it's going on all around the world. And here's the thing, on the Q site, or 8chan, where I see everybody communicating, I see so many times like, come on Q, the children, would you just quit talking and do something? Listen people, he's doing something. There is so much being done, and if you're not seeing it, it's because you're sitting back waiting for the mainstream media to bring it to you, and they're not going to. It's not gonna happen until they have no choice. It took me 5 minutes to find 3 different articles about trafficking arrests, Michigan, loads of children being found. I mean, they're doing something. It's being done all over the world. The articles are out there. You just literally have to take a little time to look for them and stop thinking that Q's not doing anything because the president, the administration, they're doing so much that is just not being talked about. So you pay attention to that. It's really important. We see the Q movement is getting bigger and bigger. The media is doing more and more to try to discredit it, which means we are over the target. There's an old saying, when do you see the flack? When you're over the target. And we're getting a lot of flack. The thing is the media just shows itself as lying. We're gonna see the unredacted things coming out here soon. It's gonna be made to the public with a lot of the talk of Q drops today with the Haiti and the child trafficking and what they're doing with the children and the occult. There's a lot that's going to be coming out very soon, and it's going to be interesting to see how we're going to accept it once it's a reality, and how the people, the normies that don't understand any of this, are going to accept it. And that's where we're going to come in, and we're going to need to be there for them. So just keep that in mind. Remember, this is all about love. This is about light. It's about coming together as people, as religions, as everything, because as we know, the history that we've been taught is way off, and I'm excited to see what really lies into it. In the next video, I'm going to be getting into the occult aspects more than what I got into tonight, what they do with these children, the trafficking, and I'm going to get into some of the Apocrypha, some of the verses that were removed from the Bible that I think are kind of important fitting into now, and I'm going to be focusing first on the book of Enoch. So thanks again for joining us for another episode of Fortnight Patriots, and I will see you next time.